Hi and good morning. It's Friday, 24th of November 2017. Welcome to Admiral Markets. Welcome to our daily real-time daily trading ideas webinar. We have 5 days a week, so we have 5 different traders. We will speak about trading ideas, strategies, market screening, and maybe 1 or 2 of your questions directly answered in our webinar. Our goal is quick and smart, 15 to 20 minutes, so we will have a fast start like any day here. Of course, we will start all the time with a risk disclaimer. Forex and CFDs are leveraged products and can result in losses that exceed your deposits. If you like to start with Forex and CFD trading, please start with a demo account and make yourself familiar with going long, with going short, and all the risk what is involved. If you like to see the full risk disclaimer, just visit one of our web pages, for example, admiralmarkets.com or also admiralmarketsglobal.com, and you will see the full risk disclaimer there displayed. This is me. My name is Jens. My English is made in Germany, but hopefully quality made in Germany too. But like I say every day here, I'm not the main speaker. The main speaker is the day trader of today. Today it's Friday, so in a couple of seconds it's Dirk's time. This is our scheme. On Monday it's Jay's day, on Tuesday it's Paul's day, on Wednesday it's Mike's day, on Thursday it's Nenad's day, and on Friday it's Dirk's day. Today's actions are tomorrow results, our leading day traders live. And another good information for you. Christmas comes early today with Admiral Markets. It will be our new promotion, started yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. You can trade without spreads. Spread rebate on DAX30 and more than 14 other instruments. If you are an active trader with Admiral Markets or you like to join us, just check it out on the webpage, admiralmarkets.com. You will see more details about this Christmas comes early promotion from Admiral Markets. More or less, it's about free spread trading, no commission trading. Check it out on the webpage. And of course, general benefits with Admiral Markets you will find on the admiralmarkets.com webpage too. For example, choosable leverage. You can take the MT4 or MT5. You will have a negative balance protection policy with Admiral Markets. You can many money advantages more. Also that, please check it out at admiralmarkets.com. There you will find also something about our regulatory background. Admiral Markets UK Ltd is authorized and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority. And if you'd like to speak with us or send us an email, also that is possible, like displayed right now. Enough from my side. Now it's time for Dirk. Hi, good morning, Dirk. What is your trading idea of today? Let's have a nice start to Friday.
So, good morning, Jens. Good morning, everybody. Hopefully my voice is clear. A little bit sick from the last week's trade fair. Typically, if you heard about that, World of Trading, it's the biggest trade fair and most important trade fair for trading related and investor related stuff. So if we have a look at the German DAX first, just to have the introduction right now, 13,022 points. So it's 10 o'clock CET. There was the so-called EFO index for November, which was at 117.5 points. Slightly better than expected. So this one was expected at 116.5 points. So 1 point more, but in the end, it's something like a very good sign that not only the German economy and then the mood is going up and is really hovering around records from one record to another. But this is on top of that, besides all this political related stuff, maybe a reason to sell again. If you see some spikes in the market, like today, we saw those little spikes around the 13,030s, and you should be aware of shorting some spikes into the next hours to come. So if there is any chance when the DAX is going up to this daily high, which we see around here at 13 or 44.87. So maybe this is something like having a new chance to go short. How do we do that? If you don't have the ability to see that one, like this mini terminal right here, you just check the navigator. You just check this so-called mini terminal. If you don't find anything like this and you don't have any clue how to implement and how to transport this software stuff into the MetaTrader platform, so just call the guys from Admiral Markets. They will be happy to help you, to assist you, to explain to you how to download the stuff and how to get it into the platform and how to maybe use it later on. So first of all, let's have a look at this so-called order letter and at the German DAX right now. Before we start, we just have a look at the absolutely naked chart, only candles. We don't even look at the pivots right to the right side here, not on resistance and supports. We just have a look at the pure candles right now. And if you see the daily candle, which is the daily chart writer here, of course, if you see the daily candle, we just see we are slightly sub this high of Thursday. Before we start and getting into that stuff, I have to just remind you that yesterday we had no US markets trading. So the Thanksgiving stuff was something like a break, no trading, everything was closed. And if you look on the Fridays, and usually in history, you see this is something like bridging into the weekend and having a break as well, and having the so-called Black Friday. So the consumers, the US consumers, are really really busy buying stuff and instead of working, and maybe this has some effects on the trading world as well, because the US markets might be not at the same volume as they used to be. So from the daily perspective, checking the Fibonacci's, for example, I have to admit, I just realized I still have that on German version, and this is my fault. Sorry about that. If you check the last for example, correction low at this version here from the candle to the upside, and at Fibonacci levels, you will be getting a hint where the market might be heading to the downside if you see a correction. So you just mark that with horizontal lines, and horizontal lines to the downside, for example, from the 138.2 Fibonacci projection, and as well from the 161.8 Fibonacci projection. You see levels like this 12,670 or 12,525 around that. It's not 100% saying, it's nothing like a Merlin's glass ball telling you the market will be heading down there. No, it's just if you like to, and if you think to the short side, this might be giving you something like a target, like a possible target. So that's the only reason we use this Fibonacci tools on the for example daily or for our chart. If you have a look to the upside as well, just marking those 50%ers, 50% Fibonacci is something around the 13 to 20 area, and most important, like always, is this 61.8 level. So this might be something interesting from the daily perspective, getting something between those resistance lines, like you see on the pivots here, resistance 1 and resistance 2, to the downside for having something like a short setup. How do we use the platform right now? We just take the order ladder. We have a sell limit, for example, between the resistance 1 and resistance 2 level. Could be something around it. For example, if you check the daily high at around the 13,044, you might be thinking about having a first short setup between the daily high and the resistance 1 level, or slightly above that. So you could be entering a sell limit, for example, with 2 lots. At the 13,060s to 70s, slightly sub this resistance 1 or slightly above it. So for example, just have a 13,080 level, for example, or 84 level, and just click it, and you have the sell limit. If you go to the downside now as well, you gotta have the ability to see the take profit scenario. It's your personal approach. Where do you see the take profit, for example? So this is something like you use a support and resistance lines, for example, support 1, or for example, support 2. Or if you think about a bigger move to the downside, like we saw this one on Monday after those coalition talks ended up with a mess in German government. No German government, new government right now. So you might be heading to this low from Monday around the 12,850 levels or something above that, just to be sure not to be too greedy to the downside. So for example, the 12,888 or slightly sub the 12,900 level, for example, this one. You see already, you see the possible win, the possible amount of money you could make with that one, because it shows you directly how much money you could earn with a 2 lots setup here. In that case, it would be 382 euros. If you're, of course, not ending up with without stop loss, you should always think about a stop loss level, and this something like this 61.8 Fibonacci level, for example, gives you a hint where to place stop loss, and possibly slightly sub that one or slightly above that one. If you're looking onto your account size, and it might be useful to have, for example, a 99 or a 100 risk, 100 euros risk, for example, you just click the one to be on a secure side regarding your account and your position size, and not to overdo, not to overdo in case of your own account size, just to avoid stuff like the so-called drawdown. So if you have, for example, always explaining that one, if you have, for example, if you have a 1% risk, you might be having, for example, a 50k account, and your risk would be 1%, would be 500 euros, right? So if you scale that down, for example, to a 0.5% risk, you would be having a 250 euro risk. So this is how you possibly try to calculate it, and you're possibly doing that with a 10k or 5k account as well. Just be aware that not to forget stuff like that. Okay, so the position is activated right now, and is a pending order right now, and you will be finding that one in the terminal as well. If you just click on the terminal and you see the stuff, black and white letters, everything is like the old version. If you do it by the old version, opening and closing trades, it shows you the mini symbol, shows you the lot size and stop loss, stuff like that. Okay. This is the DAX setup. Just having a short look on the political side and from the German perspective right now, everything right now looks like a little bit confusing. If you're looking on Germany from maybe outside, from all over Europe or even from the US, you might be thinking, what are these guys doing? I mean, they have 4 or 5 quite let's say 4 political parties, democratic political parties, 100% democratic political parties, and they're not able to arrange a coalition somehow, and not able to arrange a new government. What the hell is going on with them? So anyway, coalition talks between the so-called Jamaica faction, so black, green, and yellow, badly fell over the cliff, so they have to be able to form a new version. So everybody is talking about the old one, so the great coalition between the Social Democrats and the Christian Democrats, so-called red and black, or black and red, as you like it. This might be something still in the possible zone, but it also looks like having a very new version. We never had that before, a so-called minority government, which is I think not the best case, and I think it would be very hard to get new orders and new laws and stuff like that into the next 4 years. So nothing like a stable version having that one. So new elections, if you just talk about that one, possibly, if this is still to come, it might be heading into around Easter, where we would be having new elections. So this is one case after another, just to describe the situation. And of course, the more insecure it gets from the political side, possibly the more unstable it might be getting for the German DAX. Because it's very important to have a stable government, to have a really international stable sign for the market. Okay. Looking at other markets as well, this morning in the German version here, in the German webinars, we started in having a look at the gold chart. Looking at the 4-hour, for example, we started about talking about a short setup right now between the 12,290s. Right now, that looks like it really went the way we were talking about. So that might be a first target to the downside in direction to the 38.2 level. So this might be 1,286.50 around that. And the next target to the downside would be the 50% Fibonacci movement from this last low to this last high here, just to have the so-called Fibonacci versions where to get your possible targets. The same stuff like I already explained that at the DAX. Short and very clear for the euro US dollar as well. We are moving into this direction of 118.80s. So first of all, there was an old high. The old high around that one, 118.79, so approximately 118.80 is the last high around here. And as well, when you have a look at the Fibonacci related stuff as here again, you got the year's high from the 8th of September. The 8th of September was the record high for 2017, around the 120.92 level. So this one is the 100% Fibonacci stuff, and going down to this current low at 115.54. You got the 0% Fibonacci, where you just get the 50, for example, 61.8 levels right here. So something like this so-called reaction zones is this 50%, and as well, if you have a look at the 61.8 level, another sell zone would be the 61.8% Fibonacci level. So usually, if you look at the currency markets, you got movements testing the Fibonacci levels, maybe somehow trying to give more pressure on the Fibonacci level and going above that one. So we might be heading in direction 118.98, 119.20s, no problem with that. So you possibly not overdo and have a big lot size, but possibly have a smaller lot size, for example, and giving it a little bit more room just to breathe and to get to the downside, possibly on the evening, in direction to the evening, or even in the next days after the weekend. So that might be some kind of a strategy for a 2 or 3 days move, for example. Regarding the fact that we have a US markets closing at 19 CET, so they are closing a little bit earlier today. This is not only a fact for the stock markets, but as well for the bond markets. So you might think about that will be having some effects on the currency market as well. So a lot of US boys, the big US banks, maybe have not the 100% stuff working on that today, possibly. So there might be a little bit less volume than usually. So because a lot of guys, as I said in the introduction, take this day off and use it for Black Friday and buying stuff like hell. Okay, and the next one, that's the last one from my perspective on, was this morning's US dollar Japanese yen long setup. This one has been opened right here at the level from 111.35ers, and this is with a target, the first target for 111.90. So this is the 38.2 level. If we have a look at the daily chart, where is all this stuff coming from, you got the Fibonacci systems working a little bit more precisely right now. Excuse me. So. Okay, and having those levels, you see that 50%, the 50% move from the last low, from 8th of September 2017 to the upside, the last high here from the 16th of November at 114.72.9. So this is the Fibonacci retracement stuff, and you might be looking at this 50% as a support and try to have a move to the 38.2 as well. So if you look at the lines, for example, the stop loss lines, you just see there's not a little. It's just 45 euros of risk. So that might be something you can live with if the stop loss is just grabbed, it's just taken, it's just getting into effect. Okay. Things just from correlations. If you talk about commodities, if you talk about gold and silver, for example, if you talk about the euro US dollar or the US Japanese yen, you might be having one thing every time you have a look at those charts, go to the daily, for example, check some dates and check the lows and the highs from the last weeks or month, and you will be seeing stuff like this. For example, you got this the 8th of September 2017. There was the low 107.31.6. You go to the euro-US dollar. You check the high, the record high. It is the record high. It is 8th of September 2017. You got to check gold to the daily. You go back. You check the high. The high is 8th of September 2017, 1,357. You check the stuff at silver, same stuff here. Yeah. So the market is typically moving the way. If we have a strong dollar, we will be having a weaker gold, a weaker silver. And a lot of commodities like that. If we have a stronger dollar, if we have a record high at the euro-US dollar, we will be having a quite possible low at the US dollar versus the Japanese yen as well. Yeah, because the dollar is losing in that currency pair. Okay, been talking too long right now, Jens. Maybe there may be some questions and some maybe one special market or whatever.
Yeah, Euro, Australian dollar, Euro AOD is one of the markets we like to see, says one participant. So if you have a little bit of time and you like also this market, Euro, Australian dollar, please.
Okay. So the Aussies, just have a look at the Australian dollar versus the US dollar as well, because it's important to have a look at this pair before you start having a look at the Euro Australian dollar. This one came back from those very longer term lows, 0.75ers or 75.50s. I already started a few setups with a long in direction Australian US dollar in direction 0.78, 0.7850s, or 79. And this might be having an effect, of course, to the pair of euro against the Australian dollar. So if you have a look at that one, you will be seeing a little bit, just go on the daily, of course, sorry, just have a break. Having on the daily chart before we start that, and having the Fibonacci's from the last high to the low, and as well the indicators, for example, the relative strength, for example, and just having a look at the weekly and going back to a monthly even. Okay, weekly is slightly overbought territory at 70. We will be closing that one, and we will be having some talk about those projections here. So you have to start the Fibonacci research, for example, at the day of the 31st of May with a high of 151.30s and going down to this, is it 100% correct? Yeah, to this a low of 144.18 from the 20th of July. So this is the setup for the Fibonacci research tool here. And you got the projections 138.2 level and 161.8 level. So these two levels gives you some kind of a hint where the market right now is heading and testing the upside and getting into the red zone here, for example. The red zone means it is overbought territory in that case. So there is, like always, a very good opportunity to have a short setup from between those two projections here. For example, having a short setup around the 155.80s, 90s to the downside. So testing, for example, the last high here would be around 153.90s, 154, around that. So that's a possible target to the downside if you are about to think about having a short. So this is something you can do right now in a couple of minutes only. You got to be sure. You need to check, for example, the stuff like if you have a look at a longer term setup, you got to check stuff like the Australian banks, or even the central bank, the Reserve Bank of Australia. Everything, stuff like that. What is happening with inflation? What is happening in the next month or in the next year in 2018 with the interest rate? is the RBA hiking, stuff like that. So this will be having an effect on this pair. And if you have a look at the euro against the Australian dollar, just to give you an where the market could be heading to, yeah, you could be aware that this this currency pair might be going in direction to the 150 down to the downside, the 140, 145. If the Reserve Bank of Australia is really hiking in 2018, like the second half of the year. It's still not in the big talks that they are able to hike, but possibly hiking around that scenario. Okay.
So thank you for now. Thank you for now. Our goal is over, 15 to 20 minutes. We already make some minutes more. And happy Thanksgiving if you are celebrating that, or a happy Black Friday that is coming to more and more regions anywhere. We don't have a Black Friday today, but we have a Black Friday or Christmas comes early period. So like I said to the beginning of the webinar, Black Friday today in some retail shops, and we have a Black Friday or Christmas comes early promotion. So if you like to trade without any spread, term supply, of course, check it out. It's for existing clients, for new clients. It's about your instrument. So not any instrument. You can choose from that basket what you see. It could be DAX, it could be Eurodollar, it could be cable, whatever, everything what you see displayed here. Check up to 3 out, and that you can trade up to 40 days without any spread. Check out the details, check out the terms for existing and new clients. Happy Black Friday if you like, and hope to see you again on Monday, the next real-time daily trading ideas webinar. Good weekend, good trades. Bye-bye.
Yeah, I 100% have to say the same. I have a really nice weekend. Try to relax, to just a little bit to calm down, and to prepare for the next week to come, where the Americans are with 100% power when they are back, and as well have a look at the Forex markets open at Sundays, so that you might be more prepared to get some stories behind the currency pairs and behind the markets. Okay, thank you very much, and we will see us hear us at next Friday at 11 CT as you like. Thanks, bye-bye.